What's up, YouTube? This is Norseman Powerlifter. If you've been watching my channel for any period of time, you probably know that I like powerlifting. I also like singing, playing the guitar, but there are a lot of other things I'll do that haven't been on the channel yet. One of those things is blacksmithing. And a buddy of mine from back home was nice enough to mail me these two big fat pieces of cable. So I figured it'd be a nice gesture to make him a knife out of them. And that's what we're gonna do today. So I've attempted to make cable Damascus in the past with okay-ish results. You know, we had a couple cold shuts, a couple delaminations. And the reason I decided to make this video, even though I'm not a master at making cable Damascus, is because when I watch the other videos on YouTube, they make it look so easy. It just looks like you get it hot, you hit it with a hammer, and all of a sudden you have a beautiful, homogeneous piece of Damascus steel. But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So I'm gonna go through every process that I do in detail, and if anything, this will serve as documentation for myself so that when I have the end product, I can look at what went right, what went wrong, and what I can do to address the problems that I had last time to wind up with a higher quality product in the future. All right, first things first, let's take a look at what we're working with here. This is a piece of cable. It's I'd say 1.25 inches wide. First thing I noticed about it is it's very loose. Look how easily it bends. A big concern when you're making cable Damascus is that your cable will unwind on you and just turn into a big disgusting mess. So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna cut off this yucky end. I'm gonna just weld it until we have a nice solid cap of metal on the end. And then I'm gonna cut it in pretty short sections, I'd say about 5 inches. And the reason I'm doing it so short is because my forge isn't very big and I need to make sure that I can heat the whole thing evenly. That was a big issue I ran into last time trying to use longer pieces. So let's get. Well, the first thing I noticed when I started cutting this cable is that it really likes to throw chunks of really sharp red hot metal at you. And so I'm sporting some battle scars from that. You probably should wear long sleeves and an apron, but frankly it's 100 some odd degrees in my garage right now and I'm a stubborn asshole, so I'm just gonna have to deal with that. You can see here I have a nice clean cut on the end, and that the entire cable is made out of steel. So there are some cables out there that have a little cord of nylon or maybe it's vinyl running down the middle. You're going to want to be sure to check that after you cut it. If that's the case, you're going to have to get that out before you forge weld it, and frankly I just don't think it's worth the trouble. But this one is good, so we'll go ahead and weld it up. So when I cut this chunk off, it immediately started unraveling. It came apart everywhere, and here's a little trick you can do to deal with that. Take an old crappy pair of vice grips, don't use your nice ones. Pinch it one direction and then chuck it up in the vise the opposite direction so it's getting squeezed from both sides. If you let go of either one of these, it's gonna bust out in either direction that it's not being supported. So then I'll just tack weld on the middle a little bit there. I'll get my vice grips off so that I don't weld them to it, and then I'll weld the whole tip up. There she is, all welded up. One thing to note is that this high carbon steel, when you hit it with a welder, it just disintegrates. It starts dripping everywhere. I had the welder set at 90 amps, which wound up being a little bit too much heat. So I brushed it off, came back at 75 amps, and I was able to lay down a lot more weld that way. And I think it's gonna stay together nicely. So now we're just gonna rinse, lather, repeat. We're gonna cut it, weld that end up, cut it again, weld those ends up, and just keep on going until we have a bunch of these. So after about an hour and a half of work, this is what we're left with. Of course, I spent half that time moving around my phone to try to videotape, but these two pieces should be more than enough steel to make a knife. They do forge down quite a bit when you weld them. There's a lot of empty space in there. You don't realize how much there is until you start hammering it down. But between these two, I think we should be good. We should have plenty of material to forge it thick and grind it thin. It's the Belgian dip. So it is brutally hot out here today, man. I've only been outside for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. This is the third shirt I've worn. I've totally sweated through all of them. So I'm gonna call it a day. I'll come back out here tomorrow and forge weld those into a billet. I don't know if I'm feeling good. Maybe I'll start forging out the shape of the knife. We'll see. But till then, enjoy a brew. Y'all have a good one.